Welcome back, everyone, to the Awful Takes podcast, episode 53. That's just kind of a weird number. I don't really think there's anything special with it, but thank you for joining us. My name is Nabahi.
Hello, I'm Wallied from Gator Productions.
And we are here to talk about our awful takes with movies, music, and all that stuff. So
whatever else comes up to mind.
Feel free to stick around. We kind of break down our episodes, our numbered episodes with movie news that we find interesting, and then we jump into our reviews / discussions. So if you want to jump to that, feel free to skip ahead. We have time descriptions in the description.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
First bit of movie news that I kind of wanted to discuss. There is a new trailer that came out for a movie that we kind of mentioned on one of our last episodes. It is the Mario Galaxy movie, which is the sequel to the Mario Brothers movie that came out 2 years ago now.
That's crazy. That flew by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
wow.
The trailer looks cool. I was kind of shocked that they dropped a trailer right now. It's like a 2-minute trailer, and it kind of has not too much going on in it. However, they do tease some stuff that I think is really cool.
They surprisingly showed a lot in that trailer. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah. For instance, they show the adversary is going to be Bowser Jr. Or Baby Bowser.
Yeah, Bowser Jr. That's
which
exciting.
Is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really exciting.
He kind of has like a blended look, like obviously from like Mario Sunshine, and then there was another 3D Mario game, and he has like the paintbrush and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought the voice acting was pretty good for him. Also, they kind of tease Rosalina from obviously the Galaxy
Mario
game.
Galaxy. I mean, you got to have Rosalina if you're making a Mario Galaxy movie.
Exactly. Like I was like, there's no way they're not going to have it, which she doesn't really say anything in the trailer, but man, it looks cool and everything.
No complaints from me. It looked great.
Yeah. The CGI and the animation just looks amazing.
It looks somehow even better than a lot of their other movies. So I'm very grateful they're like really upping their animation this time in this trailer. So thank you, Illumination.
One of the things that I really liked, which was just brief, it is like literally like 2 seconds of the trailer. But I mentioned last time that I really have kind of come to the conclusion that Mario Odyssey is by far like my favorite Mario game. Obviously, I love Galaxy, I love Sunshine, I love Mario 64. I grew up on all those, but well, I don't know what it was about playing Mario Odyssey on the Switch, and the story and everything that's in it was just amazing. But they show a glimpse of like one of the worlds from Mario Odyssey. It's Toasterina, which has like these upside down pyramids and everything. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And it kind of just in my head, I'm like, I guess they're kind of borrowing from like a lot. Obviously with Bowser Jr., it kind of looks like from Sunshine. Now you have these visual worlds that we know from Mario Odyssey. So I kind of am now expecting them to really just blend a lot of elements together. I don't really think this is going to be just straight up Mario Galaxy in the movie version.
Yeah, you know? That was really surprising watching that trailer. I was kind of like, oh, okay, they're kind of borrowing elements from Mario Odyssey. Okay, I'm definitely like now kind of seeing this trailer. I kind of remember mentioning earlier what that teaser, like, yeah, it looked all right, but I think kind of seeing this full trailer and having a little bit more of an idea of kind of what they're going for, I definitely want to see how they'll blend Mario Odyssey and Mario Galaxy and whatever other Mario games they're pulling from. I definitely want to see what kind of story they come up with this new film.
And one of the things that I kind of am now like very conclusive on is in the first movie, I thought he was just kind of so-and-so, not really great. Honestly, they could have casted someone else. But Chris Pratt, he has one line in this movie, in this trailer, and all he says is, "It's trash." No inflection of Mario whatsoever in his voice.
Yeah, that's the one unfortunate thing with the trailer. That's the only complaint. That's one of the only complaints I have with this. Is I just Guys, come on.
He's literally not trying now. Like there's nothing in that. Like you close your eyes and you play that for someone and you say, guess who that is? No one is going to say Mario.
The CP. He's so cool.
I was so mad. Like honestly, and it just like everyone else, they do a great job. Like Charlie Days, Luigi,
Jack Black.
Even
Anya Taylor-Joy does pretty solid, honestly.
Exactly. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad.
Oh, of course. Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong.
And when we get to Chris Pratt, like he was serviceable in the first movie, but honestly, I was kind of leaning more towards I would rather have someone else. That
was kind of my overall thought process of why I just wasn't really crazy about it too. It's just because the voice acting for me was just so distracting.
And now here it is. He has one line in this second trailer and it stands out like a sore thumb to where I was just like, the joke's not funny. And not only that, this doesn't sound like Mario. And I was just like, all right, like I don't know. I really wish they could take back that casting choice.
But I don't know. I hope with this, but even with the movie, I do hope one thing that they do improve on, even though it is kind of a first look, is I do hope they improve on the voice acting a lot more. Because while I do like some of the voice acting, some of it can, at least in the first film, did feel a little distracting at certain points where I was like, oh, that's just the actor, you know, like Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, for example. And same thing with Chris Pratt. So I do hope with this next film, I really do hope they have the voice actors try just a little bit more. So that's my one thing I do hope they can improve on. And surprisingly too, I guess also I didn't really notice too much was they didn't really play too much music from the Mario Galaxy game or anything like that. So but again, I mean, it is just a trailer, but I do hope they actually do utilize music from the game or even Mario Odyssey, since they are borrowing elements from it.
I think one of the castings that she has no lines in the trailer, but Rosalina, as it was announced that Brie Larson is doing the voice of Rosalina.
Oh, really?
And which I think is cool because she's not shy about it. She's probably one of the bigger celebrities who lets the world know that she loves Mario. Like that's like one of her favorite things.
Oh, that's awesome. That's actually really exciting to hear.
Yeah, so it's probably like a full circle moment getting to voice. Honestly, one of the newest Mario characters who has just become so iconic, you know?
And just one of the coolest characters in the Mario universe. Like that's going to be so exciting to see how they kind of take her character and everything.
I'm excited for it, but we'll see. We'll see with more trailers and stuff. It's definitely, honestly, just kind of elevating my excitement, though, the more I see of this movie. So
a lot better than the teaser and a lot better than kind of some of the stuff I was hearing before all that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, next bit of movie news that I wanted to discuss, which for me is a little unfortunate, but I mean, it is what it is. Paramount has announced that they are going to be rebooting the Star Trek franchise.
Again.
So we had, for those of you who don't know, in 2009, we had a reboot that was made by J.J. Abrams, and they recasted this whole legacy characters and everything with younger new actors. And surprisingly, this is probably one of the few times that I can remember where it not only brought in new fans, but it won over old fans at the time. I remember my parents watched Star Trek and everything. And when we went to see this movie, it was my first exposure to Star Trek. Well, besides seeing Nemesis as a kid, which I kind of thought was kind of boring. Sorry, Star Trek fans. But anyways, watching that reboot, I was surprised how much my parents liked it and how much I liked it. And even they were like, you know what? The cast in this movie did a really good job. Obviously, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto. They did such a good job portraying these characters that my parents grew up knowing, you know? And that universe has been dubbed, they call it the Kelvin timeline, is what the Star Trek fans kind of refer to it.
Oh, okay.
Then you had the sequel, which honestly, I feel like split the fan base down the middle. So you had that first one that was super successful, and then you had this follow-up, Into Darkness, which just retold this movie show, Wrath of Khan, and that is regarded honestly as probably everyone's favorite Star Trek movie. And them redoing that whole storyline for some reason pissed off a lot of hardcore Star Trek fans, and they actually really hate that movie. I remember really? Like 10-ish years ago, they ranked all the movies. Into Darkness was at the bottom. That's how much they hated it. So yeah, that one just really split the fan base, didn't follow up on what they were teasing at the end of the first one.
Sounds like J.J. Abrams.
And now they did this third one, which didn't have Abrams. And honestly, I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. But it just couldn't recapture that magic that we had going in the first one. Then all of a sudden, this fourth movie gets talked about for so long. I remember at one point they were thinking about having like a time travel aspect with bringing back Captain Kirk's dad, who was played by Chris Hemsworth in the first movie. They were going to bring him back because not only that was kind of like one of his first roles. Now he's this big actor. So they kind of wanted this father-son duo movie, which I was like, that sounds kind of interesting.
The Chris is coming together.
Yeah. And then that kind of fell through. Then we get rumblings that Tarantino wants to direct a Star Trek movie. And I swear at one point, I don't know if it's true or not, someone's going to have to figure this out for me, but I heard that he was going to use the actors from the Kelvin timeline, and he was going to use Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, all of those guys, and he was going to make his own Star Trek movie. And then that got shot down when Tarantino was like, oh, I'm only directing 10 movies or whatever. Yeah. So now it's just been in limbo, this fourth Star Trek movie. And now finally we're hearing that this movie's getting rebooted, or this franchise is getting rebooted. It's going to start over. They're going to cast new people and everything. I'm in the opinion of, honestly, it's okay. Like, I can totally see why they're going to do it. It's the first Star Trek
at this point. Yeah, it's been 9 years since Star Trek Beyond, so
they waited really too long.
Not too surprised.
And I think this is going to go down as one of the, not the worst, but one of the most tragic kind of missed opportunities because that first movie, I swear, people were on board, people loved it. Like,
I remember enjoying it as a kid. Yeah,
people were awaiting like this whole rebooted franchise, and not only that, you have all these young people in all these movies and everything ready to kind of take on these roles, and they just couldn't find their footing. And honestly, they kind of butchered this whole thing. And I just really am like, wow, what a missed opportunity. You had all these great actors and everything, like just crazy. And they kind of missed the mark, and now here we are again. It's going to be rebooted. And I mean, who knows? They might win me over, but honestly, that 2009 movie, I just really, really enjoy.
For sure. I definitely would love to see what filmmaker they get.
Yeah. Speaking of which, they actually announced the filmmakers that they were gonna. Okay. It's kind of funny. A week ago, they didn't have the names, but recently the news came out that it's going to be directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly.
Oh, cool.
They are the guys who made Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and Game Night. And John Francis Daly is actually in Freaks and Geeks, which is like one of my favorite coming of age comedy shows. Nice. So that's actually really cool and exciting to hear. I know John Francis Daly is actually really passionate about a lot of this stuff. And I'm still sad we never got his version of The Flash, because he was actually attached to him, and Jonathan Goldstein were actually attached to the Flash project. Yeah. And unfortunately that never happened because of Ezra Miller and all that other fiasco, but cool. Wow. That's actually really awesome. That's actually really exciting here. And I did see that Dungeons and Dragons movie also, and I did really enjoyed it.
I heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate we are where we are now. I mean, I wanted to see that eventual Star Trek 4 and everything, because again, for me, it's just the obvious standout is just the cast. The cast just works so well. Like, Simon Pegg, man, like he
Scotty?
was so
Yes.
good as Scotty.
Easily one of my favorite
Carl
characters.
Urban as Bones, you know, he's so funny.
Yeah,
Like
that's so funny. That's like the first movie I saw Carl Urban.
Oh,
in, too.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, just and then obviously the unfortunate passing of Anton Yelchin, but he was so good in it too.
Yeah.
Man, there's just so many great casting decisions in that whole series, you know.
Yeah, that casting director deserves an award, honestly.
Yeah, honestly. So it's unfortunate, but obviously I'll be looking forward to whatever this next kind of reboot kind of is. Obviously, they gotta nail the casting. If they're gonna reuse Captain Kirk, Spock, and those characters, you really are gonna need a casting that's unlike any other. You really are gonna have to
make sure they stand out.
Make sure they stand out and make sure they work well together. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, honestly.
All right. Okay.
Last movie news on my end that I wanted to mention is they are gonna be doing a fourth movie. This one actually got greenlit
An
compared
actual
to Star
fourth
Trek.
movie. Okay.
It is The Mummy 4 with Brendan Fraser returning and Rachel Weisz, which I find very interesting.
The ultimate power couple for me.
Yeah.
Yes. The ultimate on-screen power couple. Like their chemistry in that first film is like chef's kiss. I love
it. One day I want to talk about it, but man, The Mummy is for me just such a great blockbuster movie.
It's such an incredible popcorn film.
It's
honestly.
so enjoyable. Yeah. It has so many funny moments. It has so many quotable lines.
There's so much fantastic action.
Yeah.
The villain is genuinely scary with his big mouth and everything.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then obviously the follow-up, Mummy 2, like we had.
I've never seen the sequels actually. So
we had one of the greatest CGI moments in The Scorpion King with The Rock.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think I've seen this still.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. But I really enjoy The Mummy 2 as well. Obviously it's not as good as the first one. It's just kind of okay. And then they did that third Mummy movie, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which I remember seeing when it came out, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I've only seen it once. I've never rewatched it, but definitely not as good. And then they recast his wife. Rachel Weisz wasn't in that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's really weird. Okay.
Now that they're doing Mummy 4 and both of these people are returning, I'm like, oh, cool. Are they going to kind of rewrite that third movie? Are they going to get rid of it?
That'll be the real third movie. But man, I mean, that's kind of crazy, especially now because Brendan Fraser's have been having such a renaissance this past couple of years. So that's like exciting to hear he's kind of interested in the Mummy again.
Yeah, honestly. And I think one of the things that I love so much about his character in the first movie, he is just, honestly, for me, and maybe some other actors might kind of steal that crown just a little bit, but man, Rick O'Connell and Brendan Fraser's performance is like some of the most charismatic acting I've like ever seen. Like he is just something about him in that movie. The way he talks, the way he like has his quips and everything. He's just so charismatic. And it's just like, how is this guy doing this so well, you know?
Yeah.
Just amazing performance.
Yeah. And you can tell like he just has so much fun with it also, you know, he's just amping up every scene that he's in.
Yeah, easily. Obviously, now that I'm hearing about this, I'm super excited.
Yeah, thank God, because I know they rebooted The Mummy like a while back with Tom Cruise, and that was really awful. It is so terrible. I was like, what is this? It was like the whole, they're trying to set up this whole like MCU thing of like the dark universe or whatever. And just, you know, it's so funny.
Only
it's like
one movie.
Yeah, it's only one movie. And Tom, and granted, as much as I do like Tom Cruise, he is really not that charismatic in this. The Mummy just kind of wasn't even all that scary or interesting like in that original film. And then just everything is all grayed and lifeless and washed out. So I'm like, thank God we're just doing an actual Mummy 4, not just doing a reboot of the series. But
honestly, if they want to get kind of meta with it, get Tom Cruise as the villain in the movie.
Okay, perfect.
I would watch that.
Maybe put Russell Crowe in there somewhere.
Russell Crowe.
He could be
Who was he supposed to be? I forgot.
He's like some scientist or doctor.
That's wild. Yeah, no, I mean, color me excited. I mean, I love Brendan Fraser, love Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting to hear they're coming back to something like this.
Exactly. You know? Should be a lot of fun. Anything else?
Yeah, there's one piece of movie news on my end. It's exciting, but it's also kind of sad at the same time. So, yes, bittersweet for sure. So, obviously, we were talking about Ryland Brickson Cole Tews with Lake Michigan Monster a while back during the Halloween extravaganza. So we got some official news and confirmation from him recently that he is going to be co-directing a film with another Brazilian filmmaker. So it's called Oriental Snatch. And this is going to be his next film after the obviously Hundreds of Beavers, like I've mentioned before. And it's the unfortunate thing is that it's going to be Ryland Brickson Cole Tews' final film, which makes me a little sad. There's actually a synopsis for this and everything, and he even gave a little bit of info about it. There's even a poster for it too that looks really awesome. Also,
oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. And so I'll just read out kind of what Tews said about the project. So he said that it's going to tell the story of D.B. Cooper. Apparently, that is the name that the U.S. government gave to the infamous 1971 hijacker who leapt out of an airplane over Nevada with $200,000 in hand. To this day, he has never been found. He went on to state that it's one of the best unsolved mysteries there is, and somehow no one has made a proper narrative movie about it. So we're going to fix that. And he kind of mentions that there's going to be action, adventure, romance, and horror, which... my God, that sounds so exciting, honestly. And he basically says that it's going to be our Bond heist meets a fever dream film, which, I mean, just count me in. That sounds so exciting already. And he also described it as the culmination of his quote unquote punk rock indie film trilogy, following Lake Michigan Monster and Hundreds of Beavers. And like I mentioned, he's going to be teaming up with a Brazilian filmmaker, and he's also a graphic novelist named Chris Tex. They're shooting the film in Sao Paulo, which is insane, and I definitely want to see how they're going to pull this off. That's everything about the film, and obviously I'm sure he'll be in the movie, obviously. It sounds so up his alley, especially after seeing Lake Michigan Monster and seeing Hundreds of Beavers, which honestly, like after Hundreds of Beavers, I was like, I don't know how much farther he could go, because that is such an ambitious film, and that is just like, how do you pull off something like that with such a low budget? So, I mean, I honestly can't wait to see when this comes out. There's actually already a crowdfunding Kickstarter for it and everything too, if you guys want to donate to it at all or anything. So, Nabahi, how do you feel about this whole Oriental Snatch project?
It sounds very interesting. Obviously, that story is like super famous, and it's always been talked about. So it would be kind of cool to see a narrative about it, kind of weaving reality and fiction.
Yeah,
I always think those movies are really, really fun. But it is unfortunate, like you mentioned, that he's very much in the opinion that this is going to be his last film, you know?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, with any director, it happens at some point, you know, they kind of reach that point where
you kind of said everything you wanted to say. Exactly.
Kind of becomes more than just fun, but you know, it also is very taxing at the same time, especially for obviously indie filmmakers. You know, they go through so much. They, you know, sometimes their own personal lives get sacrificed, you know, to make these projects work and everything. And not even to mention sometimes personal finances and everything like that.
Of course.
Which can be really fun for some people, but you know,
it's very risky,
very taxing too.
Yeah.
Like it's just not something that you can do all that often without, you know, any return or success, things like that. So it is unfortunate. But also I do kind of see that angle of it, of being an indie filmmaker, you know, really putting so much passion and everything into your work. And, you know, you kind of reach that point where, you know, it's like that process takes a long time.
It does.
You know? So does he want to do this for the next 10, 15-ish years, 20 years? Or is he kind of at that point where, you know, getting a movie off the ground, it kind of underweighs the rest of his life that he wants to live, you know? But yeah, it's super interesting.
Absolutely.
I'm super intrigued by it. I'll definitely check it out. But yeah, we'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Like I kind of mentioned, I mean, it's always exciting to hear, like, especially with him and the other guy, Mike Cheslick, like just hearing the projects they've been doing the last few years. It's been like, it's been so exciting to just see how much they've come between Lake Michigan Monster and Hundreds of Beavers. And now like this film, it's like, it's kind of crazy. They've done this in like under 10 years, honestly. But yeah, obviously when more like footage and trailers and more news about it comes out, I'll definitely make sure to mention it.
What are we talking about today?
Okay, yeah, we're talking about a very, very special film. This is one that I'm really excited to get into. So I recommended a film called Dìdi by Sean Wang. It's from 2024, and I believe actually it's our most. I think this is like our most recent film that we've done like a recommendation for. That's not like a review or anything. But yeah, so I guess to give a general idea of what the film is about, it's about a kid named Dìdi, or he goes by the name Chris. It's just like a coming of age film. It's kind of like nearing the end of summer. He's about to start high school. And he's like between his friends and like, you know, the friends that he's hanging out with and everything. And then there's obviously the other life that he kind of has with at home with his sister and his mom and grandma, his Nai, as they call her grandmother, you know. And so it's kind of him doing a balancing act between those two areas that he's in his life. And I was actually familiar with this filmmaker because he made a short film called Nai and Waipo in 2023 that I really, really connected with and I really liked a lot. And so when I kind of went to look at his filmography on IMDb, it had said that he had a new film coming out with this film. And so I got really intrigued to see what it would be like him doing a feature film. And so it was one I heard a lot of buzz around and everything. Obviously, everyone was talking about it, or at least kind of more in the festival area and more the indie scene. And then I remember Nabahi mentioned this movie during his end of the year list. And I was like, okay, I really got to get around to watching this and everything. And so, yeah, I finally got around to watching it in March. And I was really shocked with the story this film told. And I was really shocked how much this really connected with me emotionally and personally, considering some of the stuff in the film, like I can't really relate to. Like obviously MySpace is before my time, you know, and a lot of like that early YouTube and, you know, skateboarding, things like that. That was kind of a little bit before my time because I'm more of like a Gen Z or early 2000s kid. But man, like it just, even with that though, it's still, the emotion still just hits so hard for me, especially the moments with his family and especially the relationship that he has with his mother throughout the film that I can obviously get into in a bit. And then, yeah, so rewatching this for this episode, I was really shocked how much this connected with me even more. Like I loved this even more than the first time I saw it. And it's kind of insane how much they get across. And yet it really, really works for me. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into it and everything. So Nabahi, what is your experience with Dìdi? Yeah,
this movie was getting recommended to me by a lot of people in my life and everything. I eventually got around to watching it when it was on streaming. I unfortunately missed the time when it was in theaters.
Same.
Watching it more towards the tail end of the year, you know, and throughout the year we get obviously our big movies that we, you know and love and everything. But it's nice to have that kind of palette of different expressions and everything. And obviously that year I loved, obviously my favorite movie was Furiosa, like the big over the top, you know, spectacles and everything. And then you have this movie come along and it is this deeply personal slice of life kind of story that doesn't, obviously it follows the tropes and everything. It follows the, you know, the storylines of coming of age things. It doesn't really step outside of that too much. However, in its presentation and everything, there is just a realness to it that I can't really explain. You know, you really just, it touches with you very personally. The way the characters talk, the way they interact, the way things kind of come and go in the movie, it really just felt just super realistic. And that just really caught me off off guard compared to a lot of other coming of age stories that I know and love, which have a more kind of theatrical approach.
Yeah.
This really feels like you are just, for some reason, in a time machine with this group of kids, and obviously seeing him interact with his family and everything. And it's just like, you're just there. And yeah, like I mentioned, the dialogue, everything, the interactions, nothing really feels like this was written in a traditional movie sense. You know, I've seen other movies like this, but I feel like this movie does it the best. Not in terms of like coming of age or anything, but just in terms of dropping the lens a little bit, really focusing on these character dynamics, focusing on the interactions. Just for some reason in this movie have a different spin on them and a different touch. But yeah. Well, after watching it for the first time, I was just one of those movies of the year where I was just like, man, like I really hadn't seen anything like it until that, time throughout the year. So it immediately jumped to like one of my favorite movies of the year. And, that's what art is. It is a self-expression, and seeing the actor or the character in the movie kind of struggling with that too, with obviously like his YouTube channel and everything. It is like finding that way of self-expression and how you want the world to kind of perceive you, which are very big questions. And I think most of all, one of the things that I love with this movie that has kind of been my thought process with youth in general is I hear older people talk about kids, teenagers, things like that in more of a term that is like, oh, they haven't experienced real life yet. There's a very demeaning kind of quality to the way the youth is brought up and everything. That doesn't mean anything. That's often a phrase I hear a lot when, they talk about kids and teens and stuff. Oh, that, what, they're going to lose their friends eventually. Oh, they're going to get broken up with eventually. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, they're going to move past it. They're going to get to experience real life. And it's like, you have to realize, and I think this movie answers it so well, is no, these are very pivotal moments in someone's life. They're not meaningless just because they're not the biggest challenge and they're not the biggest upset that someone's going to experience doesn't mean it's not a big deal. Going through dealing with obviously who you want to be for the rest of your life. And not only that, but also wanting to feel accepted by a group of people, also wanting to find, your first relationship, your first love and everything. Those are very pivotal moments to young kids and teens. This is something that everyone has experienced, and it doesn't mean that it's not anything big. Like I just personally don't really agree with that kind of philosophy that is portrayed with youth in general now. It's just like, oh, that's not a big deal. They can get over it. Oh, they're going to lose all their friends eventually. They're going to move on and no one's going to stay friends with all their high school friends or whatever. But it's like, you don't get it. Like in the perception of that young kid, that actually is the biggest deal right now.
They're getting to experience that for the first time also.
And you have to treat it that way. You have to treat it as, what, maybe I don't see this as a big deal, but they do, so I kind of have to navigate that kind of minefield, But yeah, really love this movie. And
definitely, man.
That really was kind of one of my main takeaways with it is this artist making this movie realized that looking back at his life now is just like, yeah, those weren't necessarily the biggest challenges, but they do mean something overall.
They're a bigger deal than I think most people realize, or like think most people realize once they kind of have this retrospective look on everything.
Exactly.
But right away, I mean, I just love in the beginning, they set this up so quickly with like them like blowing up the mailbox.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Like I didn't even pick up on it until like rewatching it, but it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of the whole squirrel thing and everything.
Yeah.
Like that. And a fun little fact, that squirrel during that one of those like moments where he's high, it's actually voiced by Spike Jonze, believe it or not, which makes this even funnier. But yeah, I love that bit a lot. I think it's really hilarious. And it just kind of shows you how, like, I don't know, you have these moments where you're just like messing around with your friends and you don't care like what anyone thinks. You don't care like what anything's going on. And then it's like, you know, he tells that story later on when they're at the golf land, which is kind of funny because I've been there a couple of times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, he tells that story and, you know, obviously like him and Fahad, you can kind of tell Fahad is like very embarrassed by it, you know, and it's like that experience of like, you want to make a good first impression, but it's like maybe not the best story to tell. And, you know, it's like, it's that one feeling, like, and I felt this so many times of like, you know, you kind of doing that thing of like, you don't think before you speak and you kind of realize like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best thing to say. And you have this just like extreme regret of it all of a sudden, you know, like that was definitely a feeling I kind of felt at that age of like, oh, I don't know if I'm saying the right thing. I don't know if I'm seeming as cool as I think I sound, you know, like things like that, you know. And it's like that scene for me, I think just like hit really hard. And this is kind of like the scene after of like where there's no space in the van, quote unquote, you know, and it's like, dang, that's kind of messed up, you know, all because of like a story that you thought would be like fun to tell, but it's like, oh, maybe it wasn't too fun to tell. And I guess maybe it wasn't the right person to say it to, you know. It feels like, I guess for me, it's just like that feeling of like, you try to kind of be vulnerable for some people, but then you realize like, oh, it's not as important to some other people, you know. That was one thing I think that really like touched with me a lot in this film, like especially the difference that he has in friends. Like, you know, he's obviously making different friends throughout the film. You see at the beginning, he's at this party with Fahad and like some of his other friends, you know, and obviously it's like very quiet. They're watching like a movie. And then like you see later on, he goes to like party with like a bunch of high schoolers that he's met with like his skateboarding crew. And it's like a little bit more wild. It's a little bit more, you know, out there, you know, they're doing all these drugs and alcohol, things like that, you know, and it's crazy to see how much of a big difference that is, you know. And you see like he's torn between two worlds of like growing up and, you know, being with like, you know, other more like quote unquote mature high schoolers, things like that. And then it's like other moments of like where he kind of maybe wants to just be with, you know, like people like his age, you know. It's kind of like, I guess that's kind of something that like really took me by surprise, like watching this for the first time. Cause like, I know I've had that feeling of like hanging out with people that are maybe like a year or two, you know, older, you know, like you feel like you can relate and connect with people like maybe that are a little bit more older than your age, for me personally. And that's something that I've definitely, I think, related really hard to for sure with that sequence. And especially like that whole sequence with like him doing skateboarding and all that, like was honestly like really funny at points, but also kind of like sad when they kind of reveal like the footage and it's like, oh, it's not as good. And sometimes you feel like, I guess it's kind of that imposter thing of like, you don't feel like you're good enough for some things, but it's just like, well, you're still improving. You're still, you know, obviously it was like his first time and everything, but it was just like, dang, that's really sad. And then you kind of see the way he talks to his mom and it's like, oh, it's cringe in a good way, but it's also just like, it's really sad. Like, dude, don't talk to your mom like that, you know?
Honestly, it really paints the picture, which I think I agree with more and more now as I get older, is there's no playbook for a teenage boy throughout, you know, that time period in their life. No matter what stories or external things you hear or the teachings of older people that try to tell you, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to live your life. These are the mistakes you're going to make. These are the things you're going to run into. Sure, there are similarities, but no one can ever, you know, 100% say that they've walked in your shoes, you know, and in that, no one can provide the exact template of what you need to do in all those situations. They can't, you know. There are similarities with obviously friend groups, things like that, you know, feeling that way. But this movie really paints that picture for me that, you know what, no matter who was going to tell him what, no matter any external thing he was going to experience, he has no idea how to go about his day-to-day life. You know, he doesn't know how to navigate different friend groups. He doesn't know how to navigate being close to his mom and everything, his sister. He doesn't know how to navigate this girl that he really likes, but he doesn't know how to say it. And that's what I love about this movie, is just like it really paints that picture for me. And it really shows you that life is just something that is going to happen no matter what. You're going to have to go through this stuff day to day. Sure, people can offer, you know, a helping hand. They can offer guidance and everything. But at the end of the day, your choices are going to be yours, you know, and it really is going to kind of be left to you of what do you want to do? How do you want to be perceived by other people? Do you even want to care about that? Do you want to care about what these other people think? And there's a lot of great scenes in this movie that just really drive home that point. I can't even tell you how how upset I was at this main character when he's kind of self-sabotaging this relationship with this girl and everything. And I was just like, what is he not like? Why is he doing this? You know, but then I kind of look back and I'm like, you know what? That happens. You really can self-sabotage quite a bit, and you really don't know why. It's just something that you kind of think maybe is cool at the time, like, oh, maybe I don't want to express this fully, maybe I don't want to be close with this group of people, maybe I want to start acting like an asshole to these group of people. At that point, at that time in your life, literally anything can happen, anything goes, and you could one day be mirroring your friends, and you could be totally exactly like them and talking like them. Then the next day, oh, you might be close with your parents for some reason, and you want to start acting more similar to them. I don't know. That's just something that connected with me a lot with this movie. And I guess I kind of do see what you're saying, like the whole imposter syndrome thing, of, wait a minute, am I actually what I am trying to be? Am I actually that thing, you know?
Yeah.
Which is such an interesting question that I feel like a lot of coming of age stories don't really get into. And I like how this one is just very subtle, you know, that nothing in this movie feels too over the top. Nothing in this movie feels, oh, that's just the perfectly written scene so you can drive home the point that this guy is alone, you know? It just feels so organic in this movie, and I love that.
Yeah, it's surprisingly quiet and reserved rewatching this. It's like, even with some of the more like bigger moments, like the fight that he has with his mom, or the skateboarding, any of the skateboarding scenes, honestly, or even the moment where he does finally go on the date, you know, even when they are big things, they're just still so small in like the grand scheme of things and everything. And I actually kind of wanted to touch on that whole like aspect and relationship between Dìdi and his love interest, quote unquote. I just, right away, that introduction where he's like trying to look for the restroom is just really funny. Yeah. he goes into the room and they're like doing these like balloon, you know, they put like the helium and it's like they're talking all in like a high pitched voice. And it's just funny when he like kind of talks about like where he was at school. It's like, it gives some like little humor moments. It's small. Obviously it's not like the biggest like laugh out loud moment, but it's like, it's a pretty funny moment, you know? And I love the moment where like both of them are like interacting on like MySpace, and he's like, oh, I love that movie, A Walk to Remember. He's all, and he doesn't know what he's all, oh, smacks.
I swear, for those of you who didn't grow up in that's one of the things I love about this movie too, is it's such a weird time now. Like, there's before the internet, and then there's obviously the day we're in now where social media is literally running people's lives. But there was a brief time period there in the 2000s where it wasn't fully one way or the other, you know, like we really used it as more of kind of like a tool or something. It wasn't like a day-to-day thing. Okay. It wasn't as easily accessible from your phone. You know, you literally had to go home, log into a computer, go on the internet, search up MySpace, log in, and then post your feelings and stuff. And it was so strange. Like now looking back, it's like, oh wait, I didn't have a phone back then. I wasn't able to check my a girl I'm crushing on. I wasn't able to check her top 10 friends on MySpace. And am I in the top 10? I hope I am. Oh wait, no, I'm not in the top 10. Oh man, that sucks. Like I can't explain it, but literally like that's such a great thing about this movie is this character exists in kind of that in between time period of, you know, before, not totally before the internet and not totally in the day we are now where literally it's running people's lives.
Everything's online. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That was one thing I was going to ask you actually. Is this kind of accurate to that whole era of like the internet and everything like that?
It really is. Like I can't like tell you like the wave of embarrassment, the wave of shame, the wave of excitement, the wave of just happiness that came over me watching this guy log into that computer and go on MySpace, go on early YouTube. I was just like, oh crap. Yeah. And immediately I felt vulnerable in just like such a short time period. I was just like, whoa, that is just like something that I haven't even thought about in I don't know how many years.
Okay, wow.
Crazy.
Alrighty, yeah. Good. That's good to know. Well, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the other things like was I loved how the first half kind of focused on that, and you know, it's like a big goal for him and everything, and then once they kind of go on that day, you realize it's like maybe there isn't like a connection. You know, he kind of just puts on this like facade and mask of like he doesn't really know about all these movies. He's just kind of like in his own little bubble, you know. He has obviously things that he's interested in, obviously like videos and skateboarding, but yeah, like you could kind of tell like there isn't really much of like a chemistry between the two of them, and you know, and it's like you could kind of tell like the feelings are kind of forced and they're not on like both ends of the, you know, it's like a relationship, you know, it's gotta be from both people, you know, and like seeing that scene, it's like, it's kind of uncomfortable, but it's also kind of like at your most vulnerable too, you know, when she does that whole nervous test thing, which that's crazy. Why would you do that on a first date? Okay, sure. But that's, you know, but you kind of see like he gets super uncomfortable and you kind of realize like he's not interested in that, you know, and it kind of plays later, you know, it's kind of really sad when he, you know, people kind of call him, you know, gay and things like that. It's just like, that sucks, man. Like that's really sad, you know. It's like, that doesn't mean you're like gay or anything. It's just like they're more romantic feelings. They don't have to be like sexual feelings, you know? And that's, I guess that's one thing, like when you're younger, you know, like when you are in your teens, it's like, you're still trying to find like what interests you romantically and everything, you know?
It really shows you the mentality of teenagers where if you're not going to go along with what everyone else wants to do or is into at that time, not only are they going to not like you for it, they're going to actively put you down for your choices, you know, just for simply being like, you know, that doesn't interest me, or I don't want to do that, you know, and they're not going to let that slide. You know, they're really going to make you feel a certain way about it, which is kind of crazy. Obviously now looking back, it's like, oh dang, you know, people are really not nice people, but crazy.
You know, but yeah, that was one of my favorite aspects about the film, and I love how kind of by the end, like, you know, obviously Didi's moved on, he's in high school and everything, and you know, obviously he tries to kind of like make that connection again after he like kind of blocked her on the MySpace, you know, just because, you know, this one of the things I appreciate is he tries to not hold grudges with people, especially like the early friends that he had like with Fahad and everything. But I like the last interaction that they have together, and he's like, did you get a haircut? You know, and obviously they kind of have the interaction, and she's like, oh yeah, you punched my friend. I'm like, you know what, dude, good on you. You don't need her, you know, and it just kind of shows shows you. It's like, yeah, she's really not that caring. And it's like, you know what? He dodged a bullet, you know, because who knows what could have happened in that relationship, you know, it could have been something that was maybe toxic, and maybe that could have affected him maybe like later on in the future.
Very true. Yeah. I love the aspect in this movie. I feel like had it not been included, this might feel maybe too just by the numbers for me. But a big aspect of this movie that I'm glad is in it, that I think a lot of other adolescent movies don't really have, obviously like Stand By Me or whatever, focuses solely on that kid point of view, kid perspective, and keeps it to that. This movie obviously has this, but they have this other element to the film, which is his tie with his mom and his family, you know? Yeah. And I'm really glad that that's there, because there is kind of almost a duality at that time period where I kind of mentioned in my favorite movies of last year. You have your life that you're living with your friends, and then you have your life at home, you know, and you really are just managing this duality of two kind of different people. You know, when you're around your parents and everything, you really have to switch on the face that they kind of know and love. Yeah. And then when you're around your friends, you can be more performative to the stuff yourself. They like, you know, or more yourself. And it's just like, that's so interesting. And I really do love the personal moments with his mom. Like, they just mean so much to me. And it really just shows like this director needed that in this movie. You know, he needed that aspect to really feel different from a lot of coming of age stories where it is just kind of kids, no parents, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think this really connected with me more than I was surprised I thought it would, because that whole aspect is really like, I feel like the heart of the film for me, honestly. Really and Joan Chen as the mother, she's just incredible. Great. Like, anytime Joan Chen is in a film, I'm just like, man, she kills it. But man, she just gives such a heartbreaking performance in this film. Like, I mean, one of my favorite moments, and it kind of just makes me cry, is like when she's showing her painting to Dìdi, and he just kind of just gives this like remark of like, oh, I don't look cool, I look ugly, you know, and it's like him as like a little kid. Yeah. And they just show like a close-up shot of like him as a kid with the painting. And it's just like, it's so sad, you know, and it just shows you how much like he doesn't, I guess that's one thing I really love with Didi's character, is like he's still figuring out like himself, and he's not too proud of like where he comes from. And that's kind of one of the aspects that he's still trying to like figure out, and that he still is trying to work on himself, you know, because that's one thing, I guess, when you're at that age, you don't feel like you can relate to your culture all that much. You don't feel like you have to be this thing that you're not. And that was something that just really broke my heart. Or even like just the line, like when, you know, like, again, it's like one of my favorite moments. Like, she goes and picks up Dìdi from the place that like Fahad basically abandoned him at. Yeah. You know, and they go and eat at McDonald's. Obviously she's eating, you know, the burger and like with like a fork and knife, which, I mean, it's funny, you know, it makes for a funny moment. But just the line he says of like, "You're so Asian," it's just like, dude, like, why, you know? But again, like, it's like, you can see like he doesn't have the best experience with like his dad leaving and everything. Like, he's not too proud of like where he comes from. And that's something that just like breaks my heart so much, you know? And that's something like, I know, like, for me personally, it's like, I want to make sure like I can showcase my culture to other people. Like, I want to make sure I can show that side to people, you know. I don't want it to be like something you just bottle up and just keep on the side, you know. Yeah. That was something that I think like really broke my heart, and I think really made for some of the more emotional, sadder moments for me personally. Yeah. It really shows you at that day and the time period in your life, you really can just be totally unrecognizable. You know, it's like, you're a ghost. So in touch with your family growing up, and then out of nowhere, for that span of 8-9-ish years, you just are this, I don't know, amalgamation of other people's opinions, standards, and you really are just kind of unrecognizable to your family. But I mean, I feel like that's important to show, and I think it
it happens to so many people, you know. Show any person a photo of themselves when they were in middle school or high school, and they're going to be like, what the heck? What was I thinking? Why did I act that way? Why did I do that? And I love that this movie has that, because it's literally everyone went through that time period.
Of course.
But yeah, I really enjoy that with this movie. I feel like had the mom and the sister not been as prominent in this movie, it technically could feel maybe a little more by the numbers, you know.
Yeah, but just maybe more like good, you know, like okay, you know.
But it's a great aspect. It's a great layer, and it really just adds that personality to this director. You know?
And it definitely elevates it a lot more. And I guess another part of the family that I really loved was just Nai throughout the film. Like, and it's so funny because that actually is the filmmaker's actual grandma, believe it or not. So that was actually like really cool. And she was like in that short film I mentioned earlier on. So I was like, oh, that's really sweet of him to do that. But yeah, man, like she makes for so many of the humor moments throughout the film. I love, like, you know, it's so funny. I haven't seen like a dramatic, hard-hitting dinner scene as much as that one at the beginning in a while. So I really felt the back and forth banter between him and his sisters. I know I've had that before with my sisters, of just arguing and just getting upset at one another, and my parents trying to try to diffuse the situation. So it's just like, wow, it's kind of like seeing a reflection of a mirror at certain points with this film. But I guess I will say, as much as I do love the family aspect, one thing I do wish they expanded upon maybe a little bit more was the relationship between him and his sister. Because obviously you get it a lot in the first half, but it's not as much there in the second half. And that was definitely one thing I do wish they maybe explored a little bit more of, maybe like a scene or two.
I really feel like that I would have liked more of it, just because that was also another thing for me growing up. You really do kind of mirror your older siblings at points. You know, you want to be like them. You want to be included.
I like that he tries her clothes on at the beginning of the film. He keeps stealing this sweater.
Yeah, I do wish that was a bigger aspect. And that overall is one of my criticisms with the movie too, is I do feel like some characters are brought in to just kind of focus the plot a little bit, and then they're kind of just forgotten about and gone.
Like the mother's friend, I thought was like a really great scene where they're having like dinner, you know, and I guess maybe they do expand it a little bit with him going to that like tutoring school in the garage or whatever. That was like pretty funny. But yeah, there's definitely moments like that for sure. I wish were maybe a little bit more expanded upon.
Definitely. Overall, I really enjoy this movie. Obviously, it's one of my favorites of last year. It has so many great things in it, so many great performances, great, storytelling, and just really kind of, doing something familiar, but just making it really personal is something that really just I like so much in movies, that watching this, I'm like, wow, I really just couldn't tell you another director or storyteller who could do it in this way,
Yeah, and especially showcasing a lot of that was one thing that I really loved, is showcasing camcorder footage and sprinkling it in throughout the film, whether it's him recording his nai or him recording the skateboard videos. I was like, that's such a great little detail to add to this film, and it really showcases that. It feels like, kind of like you mentioned, it feels like a time capsule of sorts.
Yeah, exactly. There are some aspects that I wish were just a little bit changed. Obviously, I think some of the side characters and stuff could have been interwoven maybe a little bit more seamlessly. It does feel jarring at points where side characters and parts of the movie you think are going to be a mainstay are not in the movie anymore. It's just like, wait, oh, okay. But overall, really enjoyed it. Another thing I wish they would have done is showcasing maybe a little bit more music, because I know for me at that age, music was just a form of expression. It really was just something that you can do at such a young age, and you can say that you love and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
It could have definitely added for a lot of great humor too, because there's some musical choices at that age that you're super into, and then you look back, you're like, why was I into this music?
Oh yeah, that'd be funny.
But
that would be cool. Yeah, definitely.
Overall, I really enjoyed it. Definitely score-wise, I'm probably at a 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Really, really just solid movie.
Yeah, this is a really amazing gem of a film, and I hope more people see it. I hope more people seek it out, because it really is just such a special, one of a kind coming of age film. Yeah, obviously, it does feel familiar, but yet it feels so unique to the filmmaker. And I'm so excited to see like what he does next. But yeah, I really love a lot of the Didi's journey throughout the film. I love just a lot of the kind of being torn between two different worlds of like, you have you have the life that you have with your friends, but you also have the life that you have at home with your parents and the more traditional side, and everything. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like there's some really cool music choices. The score is great throughout. I was really surprised with how much I loved the score in this. And honestly, again, like even though, again, can't really relate to some of the stuff like the MySpace, it still just really hit close to home personally for me, especially the relationship that he has with his mother was something that hit really hard for me personally. And especially too, like just the friends that he has, and seeing their back and forth banters, it's just great. And it adds so much relatability and personal experience for me. Yeah, honestly. And I'm so excited to see what else he does next. So yeah, score for me, it's a 9 out of 10 too.
Nice.
One that I'm excited to watch again at some point. And one that I will definitely just recommend to more people, honestly.
Nice. All right.
What do you got?
Man, it's strange. Okay. I don't know. I was in one place 1 second, and then I'm in a new place another second. There are certain films that I want to talk about, that I want to get into, but sometimes you kind of just have to change it up. You kind of have to just throw something at you that's just unexpected. And, you may not really totally know why you love something, and only upon re-examination can you really sort out those feelings. So maybe this might be kind of therapeutic to kind of talk about, so that way I can kind of put thoughts to words, put thoughts of, okay, I love this movie. Part of me does, part of me doesn't. And now I can talk about it. So I'm going to recommend Transformers by Michael Bay. Yeah, it's a movie that I really enjoy, and I think is a lot of fun. However, I know it's really not good. I know it's bad. But I want to talk about it just because this movie brought up that time period in my life of being a teenager and everything. And I was like, you know what? I could do another coming of age story that I really love, like this movie, or I could just do something that I'm just like, you know what? That was a part of my life for a time, and I really don't know why, but
you're going to get real personal with this is what you're saying.
For some reason, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think this movie is good. I don't think this is like some unseen masterpiece or anything, and needs to have a recollective kind of discussion about it. This is just something
it's not a hidden gem.
No, this is something that personally I get a lot of entertainment from. And yeah, when I rewatch it, I'm just like, I kind of like this.
Okay. You know what's so funny with this film? For some reason, I was really into this movie as a kid.
There we go.
I think mainly it was just the action, because I couldn't tell you anything else that happened. I just remember Shia LaBeouf he wore a Strokes shirt, and I thought that was really cool because the Strokes is one of my favorite bands.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I guess I could touch on that briefly during the discussion, but yeah. Okay, cool. Let's Michael Bay it up.
It's going to be interesting.
I haven't seen this movie in like 10 plus years.
It's been a while, actually. Yeah, it has been a while. I think for me, it's been like 6 or 7 years. So if you don't want to be spoiled for the next discussion, check out Transformers, Michael Bay. and join us for the next one. It's going to be
the Shia LaBeouf edition.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's crazy now. I think he's coming back, right? Isn't he coming back to the franchise?
That's what you said during movie news.
I'm pretty sure.
He's going to come back.
So maybe we can talk about that too.
Yeah, I can talk about my whole experience with this because I've pretty much seen all of them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I actually...
Even that Age of Extinction and
that's
Last
the
Night
one I stopped at. I remember it was coming out and I was just like, you know what? I'm done. And I never saw that one.
You made a very good choice doing that. I'll touch on it during the discussion. But
nice. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Good day and good night, mates.
We'll see you on the next one.